Now some of you guys who have been watching my videos might recognize this motor. This was off that green Lawn Boy, which transmission was junk on it. The whole deck was just in really bad shape. So I decided to get rid of the deck and that transmission. Now from that last video I did, as you guys will see with this clip that I'm cutting in, let's go ahead and start it. Here's that little oil leak. You guys can see it now. Now see, that's the problem. I just don't know where the hell this thing is leaking from. I mean, I would guess it's like right in the middle of the block there where the seal is. That's what I would guess. It has a really bad leak coming out of this area right here. I don't know where exactly it is, if it's just coming out of the seal or if the block itself is actually cracked. I have no idea, but I do know that this motor, aside from the leak, runs really damn good. I'm also going through a significant shortage of motors right now, and I think I have about 3 or 4 decks that I should be able to put this thing on. So I just wanted to pull this thing apart and kind of give it a second look just to make sure if the block is cracked or not. I figured it'd be definitely worth a look at the very least, because if I can, if it's just a seal or, something of that nature, I can just go ahead and replace that and then go on and resell this. I already have looked at the prices for the seal. It's called an oil pan seal. It's this seal that goes right in here. As you guys can see, it's already leaking quite a bit here. In fact, I'll pull the camera closer for that. As you guys can see, that's fresh oil. It's leaking right now. So I'm going to go ahead and dump all the old oil out of it. So I just went ahead and drained all the old oil out of it. Wasn't very much. I could have sworn that I had already gone through and drained all the oil out of this thing, but I guess I had not. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this nut right here. Throw it in our mag bowl. I've got so many of these things, it's ridiculous. I also have to take the cap off. Cap's now out. Don't want to lose these little guys. These pins go right through here. This one already has one on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw this thing aside so I don't lose it. Now, I didn't have to remove that, but it's just a little nicer because it was only held on there with one nut, and hopefully now that'll make it a little bit easier to go ahead and work on this thing. I'll go ahead and throw the gas cap back in. I'm pretty sure the tank is empty. I just looked inside it, but there might still be some fuel in the carburetor. So when you go and pull a seal off one of these, it's kind of tricky sometimes. Now, I have looked up, everything that I need to look up online. I looked at a blown up parts diagram, and there's a seal right in here, your crankshaft seal, lower one, that needs to come out. I'll show you guys how to remove that. And then there's all these perimeter bolts that go around the bottom of the oil pan that'll need to be removed. Now, as I said, I can't tell, based on just looking at the bottom of it, if this block is cracked or not. It might have a very fine crack in it somewhere, or I'm hoping it's just that seal that's gone bad. But nonetheless, I'm going to pull this off and try and troubleshoot this and see where we can go from there. Shouldn't be all that difficult, as I was saying. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a couple rags. Now, this seal right here is kind of a trick that you can do to get these out. Of course, there's sludge and grime and crap all over this thing. And I should probably pressure wash this thing first, but I'm not really too worried about that right now. Now I just have to go get a drill and a drywall screw. So when you go about doing this, you kind of want to be pretty careful. And you likely won't really do all that much damage to the crank or the side of the block, but if you're going too fast or something, it's always better to be safe than sorry. So basically what you do is you grab your screw, grab your drill, and you basically have to almost kind of guide it in. And so with a little bit of force and the use of a screwdriver, I'm able to pull this thing out. Using a drywall screw is definitely easier in most cases, but unfortunately sometimes these things get so seized in there that they're just next to impossible to move out and get out sometimes. So now that the lower crank seal is out, we can go ahead and hopefully start removing these. And so now that that is completely disconnected, had to go ahead and remove the dipstick tube as well, just to get it kind of out of the way. Let's go ahead and pop the oil pan off. And it is now separated. Let's go ahead and pull it off. And just wiggle it out the rest of the way, and there you go. So we'll set this aside and revisit that in a moment. But first, let's look at the inside of the motor. So you guys can see everything looks really nice and clean in here. There's a little bit of, looks like some sort of, I guess, carbon deposits or something on the camshaft. No, I guess that's just the way it's designed. I don't know if you guys can really see that all that well, but there's some sort of weird texture on the insides of it, but I guess that was just how it was made. Anyways, so looking at all this other stuff, this is where the oil appeared to be leaking from. So we'll go ahead and have a nice look over these mating surfaces and see just exactly if there is any sort of gunk or buildup or, you know, cracks are mainly what I'm looking for. And so far it is appearing good. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Craftsman gasket tool and see if I can remove some of these. So as I look this over, this is our oil pan, I can already tell you guys the problem. It appears that, I don't know if the original owner decided to put a new oil pan gasket on this thing or not, but it looks like it's the wrong gasket. And it doesn't appear that it's bent, it just appears that it's the wrong gasket. And that is exactly where our oil leak was coming from. Because as you guys can see, this end goes here and the dipstick tube goes over here. And if you flip it around, put it back in place, you can see that that exact spot where I noted that it was leaking from is right here. So whoever put this gasket in obviously put the wrong one in. So that's kind of an issue, but it's a good thing nonetheless because that means that the block is not cracked. I have looked over the block a significant amount so far off camera, and I've not been able to locate or see any other cracks or leaks anywhere else. So that's good to know. I've already priced out both these parts. Now normally you could just get some gray silicone and make yourself essentially a new gasket, but because I have to order a new one of these anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, get two birds stoned at once and get a new gasket and a new crank seal. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was going to be kind of a reassessment of this thing, and I believe that I've done that as far as that's concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and order up both of those parts, and you guys will see a second video on this motor of me replacing everything that needs to be replaced. So anyways, I'm happy with the results here, and I'll go ahead and try and replace both those parts, and hopefully that sorts the leak out. So you guys stay tuned for that, and you all stay classy.